Hey there, sweet friends. Dana here. Those of you who don't know me, I'm a soul coach and a spirit channel. I'm also an advocate for women and the healing of the inner feminine. I am here as a reader today. So I'm also what many of you would understand is psychic medium, which means that I can communicate with the energy that surrounds us and is beyond us, and marshal that energy into space so that I can communicate that which is maybe hidden from you so that you can see it, so that we can see it. I also see myself as a collective channel, which means that I don't just work one-on-one with individuals, although I love doing that. I do these videos specifically because I also have a desire to get a message out there to those of you who are interested in healing yourself, healing others, healing your energy, and being a catalyst for change on the planet. And at the moment, the biggest change that most of us will recognize is quite obvious, is the inability for some to understand that our communications and dialogues with each other need to respect more than just stats and figures, more than just mathematical calculations. And so this is an energy forecast. The energy forecast recognizes that we're more than just nuts and bolts. We're more than just skin and bones. We are also fascia that connects all of the skin and bones and tissues and hormones and chemicals in the body. We're also a little bit beyond that. So I'm being reminded that just like with dogs, it's recognized quite widely that dogs can hear a pitch of sound that's beyond that which the human ear can hear. So too can some of us communicate with energy that surrounds us, that may not be physical in nature, but absolutely does exist in the field. And there's enough evidence to prove that these are influential ideas and systems that impact us all on some level. Of course, it's up to you to have the dialogue within your own soul and self to see how any of this aligns with you. We are certainly not here to preach a particular way of being. That matter is up to you. It is solely your responsibility to know what you're about, how you show up, how you've shown up, what your dialogue is in your systems, how your bones and structures communicate with your fascia and out from your face. You are much more complex than just one individual identity. And so if any of this interests you, I can support you to find out more about yourself and find out more about how we're all connected. And there are a number of ways of doing that. You can book a one-on-one session with me. You can join our psychic development circles, which are relatively new, but I've been teaching psychic development in other spaces for a long time now. And so these types of lessons help you to dialogue with the energy that surrounds you and maybe get a better handle on how you show up and how you communicate, and what energies are impacting you, and maybe what you can do about that. So if you're interested in any of that, if any of that kind of twinkles certain feeling or sensation in your system, then you can check more out about my products and services via my website, which is www.danaspiritbutterfly, that's DANA spiritbutterfly.com, and there's more information there. Otherwise, stay online, tune into this video, and let us talk a little bit about the lunar cycle and what you can expect energetically for you. I'm being reminded or shown that this is also mostly psychic in nature. Those of you who are not aware of the differences between psychic and mediumship, they are same but different. Everybody is actually psychic. It's just about degrees of expectation and awareness and cultivation of your own systems and how that works for you. We're all interconnected via a psychic grid as well. There's a webbing of associated connection between all of us that we can communicate with. So I'll be doing some work there as a channel or a medium, if you will. We work a lot more in the astral field, a lot more in the akashic field, and of course with people who've had physical bodies in the physical plane before and may have now passed on. This is a particular type of energy that we do have the ability to, when I use we, I'm talking about my spirit intelligence, the peeps that I have that help me with this type of thing. And we can show up to that for you if that interests you. But for today, right now, We're going to talk a little bit about the lunar frequency, and we have really two kind of energies that are interplay. Well, three actually. I think I want to suggest three, but commonly people see the sun and the moon together. The third, of course, would be the earth frequency. And so let's just break down a little bit about the sun and the moon frequency. And the reason why we're especially emphasizing this today is because we're coming up to eclipse season. And of course, eclipse season, for those of you who may not be aware, a lunar eclipse is and a solar eclipse is where there's an interplay between the Earth alignment with the solar giant, which is the sun, and the lunar moon. And so when the three line up in particular ways, we either get a solar eclipse or a lunar eclipse. And both of these are coming up in the next lunar cycle. So the solar energy is really essentially stands for that which is seen, that which is known, that which is obvious. Some suggest that the sun is masculine in energy. The energy of the sun is usually the bright and shiny lights, the things that everybody sees and the things that everybody accepts are true because it's out in the open and can be seen clearly in sunlight. The lunar frequency is usually associated with the feminine. It can be associated with what we call shadow or the void. It is also linked often to reflection and our ability to see something in reflection quite often about ourselves. And you know, the understanding is that a lot of people don't like to look in the mirror because they don't like to look at themselves. Interestingly enough, this particular lunar cycle is going to challenge this. There's going to be a lot of opportunity for you to see parts of yourself that you may not enjoy or like. Further about that in a little while. But the lunar frequency in itself is actually magic. It's actually a part of the sacred feminine mysteries, which is why quite often women's circles are known to be linked to the moon, the lunar frequency. We think it's a bit unfair just to lump all of feminine kind into shadow work and all of masculine kind into the good and light, because this, I feel, is a little bit misleading. But many of you can sit with that and see how that aligns with you. But trust me, the masculine and feminine paradigm between man and woman, mother and son, between father and daughter, these types of energies are going to be challenged across this month. When we say challenged, it doesn't have to lead to bad things. Emphasis on that, okay? Because when we say challenge something, challenging often is a conversation around something needing changing and there being an acknowledgement of there being something around that doesn't necessarily feel okay or right or balanced or freely available and open. And I get a picture of the moon again, this idea of reflection. And this idea that this next moon cycle, there's going to be a lot of reflective energy. And this can manifest in a lot of people talking to you or sharing with you certain stories and expressing things in conversation that may trigger you and may stimulate a certain sensation of trigger inside of you that is actually primarily about you going through a process of seeing how this energy interplays with you and how this energy might be helping you on some level. Again, what we said before about the mirror, nobody really likes to see themselves in the mirror, particularly the things about us that might be considered unkind or ugly or different or wrong or whatever it is that you've put or locked away in your shame box or your guilt box or that part of you that says this is not okay. And trust me, what you've put in your box of this is not okay, a lot of that stuff actually is okay. A lot of that stuff is, from a collective perspective, perfectly fine. It's just that at some point in your past, in your trajectory, your mechanical system, your rational mind, your exploration of the world in the past has maybe shown you these types of things as being bad, wrong, or hurtful to you, or, add anything in there that actually feels restrictive, dense, or, creates sadness or frustration or anger or any of those dense frequencies. I am getting this really strong sensation on my back just to emphasize that bad and wrong is subjective. It's not necessarily true except through the eyes of the person perceiving it. And when you can take responsibility for your eyes and the way that you perceive the world, which is really important to you, it should be the most important perspective that you pay attention to. Not necessarily listen to, because some of our perspectives is a little bit warped. This is common. All of us have that on some level. And if you're in denial of that, then you're in denial of the truth, which is that you're human, that you have some things that actually have been declared as bad or wrong or not okay for whatever reason, and you are not willing to look at that. So this is the season to change this. This is the season to say, I'm okay as I am. I've shown up in this physical body as this person having this experience for a divinely gifted reason. I might not understand what that is. Of course, if you want a soul reading, this is something that I can do for you to help you understand a little bit more about that. But your conversation with you is the one that's most important. You have to understand how you see yourself and how it is that you choose to go about in the world and what it is that you're expressing in the world. And when you witness that, when you take responsibility for being the one listening to that, you will find navigating life and relationships much easier. I'm getting drawn to the to the full moon, and we should acknowledge that this lunar cycle, it starts on the 4th or the 5th of November, depending on where you're geographically located. I'll put the exact times in Australian Eastern Daylight Saving Times and a calculator there, so you can calculate it for your own perspective to understand where the new moon lays. But it's a new moon in Scorpio, and Scorpios tend to have a bit of a tail, and they're really deep divers. So expect this process to be one involving a lot of your guts, is the word I got. So you're going to be diving into the guts of you, diving into your intrinsic self. And as it comes forwards and comes out, the midpoint, which is around the 19th of November, 18th, 19th of November, that's where the eclipse is. So the first 2 weeks of the lunar cycle are going to be preparation for the full moon purging, which is a reset and a realignment with your authentic truth. That's what deep diving does. We deep dive to excavate, to see the things that are there. And the best friend that you have is firstly an acknowledgement of your imperfection, the fact that you're human guarantees that there's stuff about you that you can't see yet, you're blind to, and the universe in its intelligence is always bringing to you experiences so that you can see more of you. And so this is especially true. This is going to be a lot of awareness of the stuff that's inside of you, because it's going to want to come out. Your best friend is to acknowledge that this stuff needs to come out, and that this stuff makes you human, and that this stuff is intelligent and it's telling you about yourself. So ease up on the pressure that you put on yourself to have the perfect conversation every single time, to have everything that you say land. Suspend your judgment with that, and you'll find that the first 2 weeks is going to be relatively easy. It's just going to be about self-awareness mostly. And I get pulled also to this idea of the romantic space. The romantic space has been an energy in the field for quite a lot of this year actually, but specifically the last 3 months there's been a conjunct that brings romantic energy back into the field. It's got to do with the masculine and feminine rebalancing and the understanding of the sexes and where the meeting point is. The meeting point is actually the material point. We need to understand where the meeting point is between my left and right sides of my body, so my masculine and feminine, how my mum and dad work together, and how that is entangled within my own DNA, and we're all impacted by that on some level. A denial of that will make this moon cycle less comfortable for you, so let's just swallow that as a truth. We're always impacted by our parents, but it doesn't have to be nasty for you as an experience, except when you relive your memory and then reject it as being a part of your experience. The full moon in itself is a full moon in Taurus, and Taurus is an earth sign. Taurians are also quite introspective, and so again, we talked before about there being this deep diving, this getting into the guts of things. The full moon is going to be really grounding for most of you. So while a lot of full moons, and of course I'm being reminded that full moons impact us all differently. It's the way that we're designed. I'm getting a sense towards my rose quartz, my massive rose quartz. And so I get the sense that the only answer really in terms of our internal perspective on self and the ability to witness ourselves through our experience is just to stay present with big love for self. Really big grounded love for self. When you're there, if you can find that space that basically says, I have a right to be here, I have absolutely every right to have the voice and perspective that I carry. I am a person in a process and undergoing a journey of evolution to become more of myself. And as I do that, I actually create more space to interact with others in more harmonious ways. If I deny myself my space, if I deny myself my ability to be, even if there's parts of me that I feel a little ashamed about and a little bit guilty towards, then I'm going to have difficulty with this whole process of integrating the lessons of the first 2 months of November to be able to drop into the 19th and 20th the 18th and 19th November full moon. Because on that point, there will be a massive amount of fire energy in the field because of the lunar eclipse. So the lunar eclipse is going to flip things around and reset them, and it will ask you to fully declare that which you stand for. And this is a cathartic process, and cathartic process means I need to get, excuse my language, shit out. I need to find a way within my scope of feeling safe to get shit out. And so please don't project and vent at other people, but do understand that you do have every right to speak up when someone is saying something at you, about you, that doesn't feel right. And a simple way to do that is to say, I respect that you have an opinion and it's not the one that I have, but I also need to be in this space and to assert that which I see about myself, because for me that's also really important, and I'd like you to understand that I reserve that space for me. And that for some people might sound resistant, but it's also a way of integrating your own personality into the space to make sure that you're available to be seen. And so the Taurian energy can be in the full moon if you are able to stay with big self-love. The rose frequency, of course, helps with that. Those of you who are familiar with rose work that I do and that are off in my circles. Self-love is the absolute love. It's the only love that really matters, that allows you to be able to be available for loving others. So, moving on, I am getting a sense of once we've passed through the full moon, the other side of the heading to the solar eclipse, which will be on the 4th or the 3rd of December, the 3rd or 4th of December, depending on where you are. We're heading into a Sagittarius energy. The Sagittarius is much lighter. It moves much quicker. It's less moody. It does tend to get into the creation zone much quicker, and it really loves socialization. So I get the sense of once you get to the end of the moon cycle, there'll be like a shaking off of energy and just going, wow, thank you. Thanks for that energy. I'm really grateful that I had that experience because now I feel lighter. And so I expect by the end that you will feel lighter. And so that's essentially all we're going to share for this particular moon cycle, lunar cycle. As I said, Dana Spirit Butterfly is my name. Please do subscribe if that interests you, and feel free to tune into the work that I offer, especially the psychic development circles. At the moment, it's really important to me that we start to see the balanced form appearing in our society. And of course, we always say the responsibility for that starts with you. And so the best way that we can do that is by seeking to rebalance our own selves. And most people have spent a lot of time kind of working the energy in the external world. So like keeping the energy out, looking at other people and looking at the environmental factors. But to be able to deep dive into yourself and to really start to find that safe space within, it significantly improves your life, but it's also worth investing in. And a good part of that is understanding the language of spirit. And the language of spirit, when we use the term spirit, people think, oh, dead people, or spirit is, plant medicine and flowers and herbs and all of that, because it absolutely is. All of that, Akashic field records, spirit guides, healing teams, whatever, all of that stuff, absolutely spirit. But did you know that spirit is also inside of you? We access spirit because spirit is us and we are spirit. And when you have a better dialogue within your own spirit, your spirit energy never dips so low that you can't make your way through life. And so understanding how this works takes practice, it takes awareness, and it takes some re-education of your own cellular DNA, because we have been conditioned and our ancestors have been conditioned over a period of time to deny how this energy works, just simply because that's the way our societies have been structured and where the energy has been focused. We are on the precipice of change, and the change has to start from within all of us, and that's your responsibility to be a part of, rather than to isolate and separate yourself. And so I hope that this resonates with you, and I invite you to join any of my work and reach out if I can be of service. Otherwise, please subscribe, and I look forward to you joining us in the next video. Kisses. My love to you. Be safe and well. Okay. Bye, guys.